I'm Colin Walls, and I'm here once again to talk about embedded software. Today I want to talk about operating systems on embedded systems. It's now relatively uncommon to see an embedded system without an operating system there, but it's something we need to think about, and I want to think about the selection process. Now, this came about some time ago when a customer of ours was asking how would he go about selecting an operating system. He could see he had multiple options and he wanted some guidance. What he had in mind was some kind of flowchart where he could just work his way through it, answer each question, and bang, come out the bottom with the answer. But it isn't that simple. I couldn't give him a flowchart, but I could give him some guidance. The starting point is to ask the question, do you really need an operating system? That isn't quite as straightforward as you might expect, but we can make some fair guesses. If we take a look at this graph, we have along the horizontal axis increasing software complexity, and up the vertical axis we have increasing CPU complexity, which actually I equate to data bus width. So with 8-bit devices at the bottom going up to 32, and of course it would go beyond into 64. We can divide this space into 4 quadrants. If we look at the bottom left corner, so 8-bit low-end devices with simple applications, you really don't need a kernel at all. There's nothing much needed there, you just write the software. If we look diametrically opposite from there, top right-hand corner, where we have a relatively complex application on a fairly high-end processor, here is the place to use an operating system. It gives you the opportunity to build an application which is multi-threaded, of course, but that gives you scalability and maintainability, because you'll probably want to make changes to that software in the future, maybe add functionality, change things that are there, and building it on top of a stable platform like an operating system makes a lot of sense. The other 2 quadrants are interesting, where you've got a simple application running on a high-end processor or a complex application running on the low-end processor. Each of these might benefit from using a kernel of some kind, because that will encourage you to write it in a multi-threaded model, which gives you scalability as and when you upgrade the processor and or the software complexity. So it's a good investment for the future, considering using a kernel in those places. There is another reason why you think about an operating system, and that is that many modern engineers have little or no concept of programming on what we call bare metal, in other words, with no operating system support at all. In the early days of embedded software, that was the norm, but nowadays that's relatively uncommon. So you need an operating system. Where do you get it from? Broadly speaking, there are 3 possibilities. One is to develop it yourself, and that is not an uncommon thing for people to be doing, and I would generally not recommend it, because unless you're a specialist in that area, you are probably better looking at a product produced by somebody who is a specialist in that area. It makes sense. You don't go and, if you make cars, you don't make glass to put in the windows, you buy the glass from a glass maker. So relying on somebody else's expertise makes a lot more sense most of the time. An in-house developed one may seem like an attractive option because it's, quotes, free. Of course it isn't, it takes time to develop. And you also may feel you have control over it, but actually hanging on to the right people with the right amount of documentation is quite difficult to do. So do you really have the control? That's quite a big subject. Another opportunity you have available is to choose one of the free operating systems, one of the open source options on the market. Well, free always sounds good, but I am a subscriber to the Tanstaffel principle. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch, and there ain't no such thing as a free operating system either. Free may be free of licenses, free of royalties, but there are still costs, either costs to you of actually implementing it and or paying for the support ongoing which you'll need for that operating system. So free isn't really free. And the last option is to look at a commercial product where you can approach a number of vendors. There's a couple of hundred on the market, there's a lot to choose from, and figure out which of those is sensible for your needs. This is a big subject. I could go into a lot more detail about how you select an operating system and maybe in future videos I'll take a further look at that. It's something I've looked at in other contexts many times. If you need further advice, in the short term at least, do drop me an email and I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. So for now, that's all, and I'll say bye for now.